all a very happy new year, guys. I wish all my viewers, all my students, all the parents of my beloved students a very happy and wonderful new year. May God give you lots and lots of peace and contentment, health, happiness, which is the prerequisite for all our lives. Yes? So here we go, my dear students. We are going to start with a new poem, which is If I Was a Tree, from your reflections. Alright, so let's start. Basically, my dear students, this poem is little on a serious tone. Okay, because if you look at the picture over there, you will understand why there is like a if conditional. If I was a tree, actually it should have been if I were a tree, but not an issue. I will give you the explanation as to why it is if I was and why it should have been if I were. Alright, so before I start explaining, dear students, you tell me something. Do you want to be a human being, or do you prefer to be a tree? Can you compare and contrast your life if you were a tree? What would be your best choice over here? See, analyze this from the point of view of a person who has been who is like in a very bad tumultuous state of life, and he wishes that, oh God, if I were a tree, there were n number of positives, there could have been n number of positives in my life. So what do you think? What if at all given a chance, would you have opted to become a tree? Ponder over it. Now, let's talk about our poet Mudnakodu Chinnaswamy. Okay, the person who has written this poem. And who is this persona? He is a Dalit poet, a very famous poet of Kannada literature. Okay, he loves poetry, and the best part is his poetry is being translated into different languages, including Spanish, Hebrew, and of course English. Okay, and what does he talk about in this poem, my dear students? Now let us know about him a little more. He has worked as a financial advisor for our KSRTC and BMTC, and I can say that he is venting up the emotions, the turmoil, the difficulties he had undergone when or during his journey of life being a Dalit. Okay, pen is mightier than sword. Yes, true. Pen is mightier than sword. That means to say, he has written, he's expressed his discontentment, dissatisfaction, dejectedness through his poems. Okay, he's spoken elaborately about the exploitations which Dalits have undergone. Okay, and you will understand the seriousness of the situation when we explain the poem in detail. Alright, shall we start? Guys, do you know how many Varnas are there in our Indian society? Varnas, that is categories based on the caste, color, creed, religion. First is Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and Panchamas. 5. So Kshatriyas, rather Brahmins first, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and Panchamas. Okay, the society, whether we like it or not, is divided among these three varnas based on the caste. 10th century poets as well, like our Pampa, had always told that it is like literally very bad to categorize the human race based on caste, color, creed and religion. Vachanakaras of our 12th century as well had condemned in fact about discrimination of our society. In fact, post-independence, our constitution, the government has framed laws in support of the Panchamas, or rather Dalits, and the constitution is also supporting our this category of people. Then why should we as mere human beings do this discrimination? Have you thought of it? We are so-called educateds. We are so-called literates. We've got degrees after degrees with our names. Then why this discrimination? When is this dogma, the stigma of the society will be vanished? Guys, just think about it. You're the younger generation. You need to analyze and understand that we are all one. See the irony over here. We say we are all children of God. Correct? Then very sad part is Dalits even till today are not allowed to enter the temples. How bad, how sad it is, right? So Mudnakudu Chinnaswamy always propagated that we are not supposed to discriminate people based on the religion. Who are we to do that when Mother Nature doesn't discriminate human beings? Correct? And the way he is expressed, he has not done any strikes, or he has not gone into that level of fight, but his, as I said, pen is mightier than sword. He has propagated his ideas, he has conveyed his ideas through his poetry, and it's very well accepted in the society. Alright, so now you tell me, as I said earlier, which life would you prefer? Do you wish to be a human being suffering through all these things, or do you wish to be a tree? Why? Because as I said earlier, Mother Nature doesn't discriminate any human being for that matter. Yes, sun, rain, earth, do they discriminate people based on the religion? No, right? Then who are we to do that? The first biggest question which we should ask ourselves is why this dogma hasn't been vanished from our society. It's ages old. It's been there since, I don't know, since, as I mentioned earlier, since 10th century. Correct? And yes, I understand it's very difficult to transit ourselves. The transition is little difficult, but it's not impossible, guys. Yeah? On this thought, we shall start with the poem If I Was a Tree by Mudnakudu Chinnaswamy. And this has been translated by Rovana Hill. Okay. She is a British nationalist who was in India. She studied in Mysore University. She has translated a lot of literature of Kannada into her language, into different languages as well. Alright, hats off to her, because she has actually recognized the beauty of our language. Alright, so let's start the poem, guys. Okay. Dear students, one of the most anthologized poems of our poet is this one, If I Was a Tree. In the sense, this poet has, or rather this poem is published n number of times and to n number of languages. So let's begin. If I was a tree, the bird wouldn't ask me before it built its nest what caste I am. When sunlight embraced me, my shadow wouldn't feel defiled. My friendship with the cool breeze and leaves would be sweet. Just understand from this poem, in fact the whole poem, my dear students, from the poet's perspective. Just analyze to what extent the poet's life was that he has written the poem like this. Okay, so he says, if I was a tree, the bird wouldn't ask me what caste I am. So the dejectedness, the feel of anger is being really expressed in a very heartfelt manner by the poet. So, first few lines of the poem. If I was a tree, the bird wouldn't have asked me before it built its nest what caste I am. Guys, I know that you wouldn't have seen or heard something of this sort. There was a colony called Dalit colonies during those days, and I suppose even till today in few villages they still have this outcast colony which is called Dalit colony. Generally these kind of colonies will be outside the radius of the town or the city or the village also for that matter, and these people are not supposed to enter the village or the town during during the busy hours. The reason is the people over there, they feel that if at all for example, I happen to even feel the shadow of a Dalit, I feel impure or defiled. That kind of stigma our society suffers from. Okay, so just imagine, we cannot tolerate a shadow of a person. How can we tolerate a person's house, this kind of person's house near ours? I'm talking about the narrow mindset of few people, which is really a very sad state of our society. So the poet is trying to say, God, if I were a tree, the bird wouldn't have asked me which caste I am before it could build its nest in my tree. Correct? How wishful thinking it is, my dear students. When sunlight embraced me, my shadow wouldn't feel defiled. So, do you think sunlight differentiates between people based on the religion? So, if sunlight falls on me, that means I am from a pure caste. If the sunlight doesn't fall on me, I am not from the pure caste. No, right? The nature doesn't differentiate. Then why should a human being differentiate another human being? So the poet is trying to say, when sunlight embraced me, my shadow wouldn't feel defiled. So if I were a tree and the shadow falls on me, the sunlight falls on me, the shadow wouldn't feel defiled, impure. That's the reason I told you that particular example, wherein if a Dalit crosses the path with the upper caste person, this person may feel defiled. But it's not the case if I were a tree. Yes or no? So understand the turmoil the poet would have gone through all his life. My friendship with the cool breeze and the leaves would be sweet. What a wish the poet had or has, guys. He says, my friendship with cool breeze and leaves would be sweet. He couldn't, or rather a Dalit couldn't afford good friendship, a healthy friendship with the rest of the society. So he says, if at all I were a tree, the cool breeze would have embraced me, would have been my friend, and that companionship would be so wonderful and cherishable. So wish I were a tree. That's the reason I say, guys, please put yourself in the poet's shoes, or put yourself in the try and analyze the life of this untouchables, so-called untouchables, and how mean our mindset could be to term them untouchables when God himself or nature itself doesn't discriminate people. Raindrops wouldn't turn back taking me for a dog eater. Understand this, my dear students. Raindrop, the rainfall, the thunderstorm, even the drizzle for that matter. Does it discriminate between human beings? That yes, I eat meat and I am not supposed to be touched even by rain gods, or I don't eat meat, so the intensity of rain should be more on me. Is there a discrimination of something of this sort? No, right? So the poet wishes and he says that if I were a tree, the raindrops wouldn't have discriminated, or rather it would have fallen on me throughout me without discriminating. Well, if I were a dog eater. So who am I? Why should a human being, a fellow human being, discriminate me, saying that no, you are not supposed to be touched? When I branch out further from my roots, Mother Earth wouldn't flee shouting for a bath. When I extend my roots, if at all I were a tree, when I extend my roots, of course the roots will spread across the ground. So do you think Mother Earth, we call Bhumi Tai, Mother Earth, would she say, no, don't come near me, I will be defiled, I should go and take bath again? You think so? Will Mother Earth say so? Then who are we to say that we feel impure? When even if, forget about the physical touch, we feel impure even if the shadow of a Dalit crosses our path. There are instances in the history when people actually have told that if I have to go and take bath again, not just because it's not that the person has touched you or touched him, it's just the shadow of the person has hit him. Very, very mean kind of an attitude people carried during those days. So Mother Earth, do you think she would have done that just because I've extended the roots? No, right? Then why should a human being create such discrimination between the fellow human beings? Understood the seriousness, guys? So the poet continues, the sacred cow would scrape her body on my bark, scratching wherever it itched, and the 300,000 gods sheltering inside her would touch me. So, cow is the holiest of all animals. Yes, dear students? And cow goes and scrapes her body on the bark of the tree. Correct? Wherever it itches for the cow, she goes and scrapes her body to the bark of the tree. And we have 300,000 gods inside the holy cow. Yes, we believe, Hindus believe that God is equal to our holy cow. So that's the reason people go pray, people touch the back of cow, people are fine to drink urine of cow. Yes, people feel, or rather during the housewarming ceremonies, people make cow enter the house, right? And the same cow goes and scrapes her body to the tree. And if at all the nature had differentiated human beings, do you think the cow wouldn't have? Right? So cow, or rather the animals and the beasts around, the birds around, do you think they have this kind of mindset? No, right? So they treat everybody equal, be it a tree, be it a bird, be it an animal, everybody is treated equally by Mother Nature. So the poet says, the 300,000 gods within cow will never feel defiled even after touching me. How wonderful my life would have been if I were a tree. So, my dear students, this is the heights of disappointment, this is the heights of anger and dejectedness the poet is trying to express. The last stanza is literally very, very heart-rendering, because you will understand finally what would what is the poet trying to express. Okay, who knows, at the end, hacked into pieces of dry wood, burning in the holy fire, I might be made pure, or becoming the buyer for a sinless body, be borne on the shoulders of 4 good men. Even if you're not satisfied me being a tree, even if you feel that being a tree is also considered impure, fine. Let's go to the next level. What is that next level? Who knows, at the end, when I'm hacked into pieces of dry wood, when the tree dries off, when tree doesn't have the ability to bear fruits and flowers, it will be hacked to death. In the sense, it will be cut into pieces of dry wood. So the poet says, who knows, at least at the end, hacked into pieces of dry wood, burning in the holy fire, Agni, the purest form of energy, right? Why do, when the person dies, when he leaves, when the mortal remains are left, he is going to be buried, either buried or would be burnt. Okay, why do we follow that practice of burning? Because Agni, the purest form of energy, when something burns and when something is been put to fire, that means it is also been purified. The body or the mortal remains will be purified when it is being put to fire. So the poet says that hacked into pieces of dry wood. This dry wood, the logs of wood, is obviously used to lit the fire, to put into fire, right? So burning in the holy fire, I might be made pure, right? So the poet says, at least at that time people will be convinced, okay, fine, I am a Dalit, I am an untouchable, but having that tag untouchable will at least be vanished when the wood or the logs are put into the holy fire, Agni, and I'll be made pure. Or becoming the buyer for a sinless body, be borne on the shoulders of 4 good men. So buyer is that framework where the dead body or the mortal remains of a person is kept. So how is this buyer made? The buyer is made using the wood, correct? Who is going to carry the body? The poet is talking about irony. Lot of ironical situations we have come across. By this time you might be aware of. Lot of ironical instances the poet is trying to say. One of the best ironies over here which the poet has mentioned is 4 good men carrying me or carrying a dead man, and the bier is made of wood. 4 good men are carrying me. Who has labeled them good men? The so-called society, we people. Who has given them certificates saying that yes, you are a good man, you are a good man, you have the rights to carry the bier, you have the rights to carry the mortal remains on the bier. So the heights of the dejectedness the poet is trying to convey here, guys. He says, at least when I've been made buyer of a sinless body. Are we godlike creatures? Are we sinless creatures? Haven't we committed any sins? God sent creatures, are we? No, na? So what do you mean by that? We are nobody to term another person say that no, you are not supposed to be touched. You are an untouchable. You are a Dalit. You are not supposed to have a dignified life in our society. We don't have any rights to term a person a Dalit or an untouchable. The poet says finally, I might be made pure at least how? Or becoming a buyer for a sinless body, be borne on the shoulders of 4 good men. So dear students, understand this. The poet says, or rather he prays to God, at least when I die in the form of tree, at least when I die, people will be using me for in the form to put me into Agni, to put me into holy fire, or at least I'll be utilized to carry a pure soul, not pure soul to be more precise, at least a sinless body. Can it be possible? By any chance? No, right? So poet says in despair, is there an end to this filthy state? Sooner or later, will I be able to see a society sans discrimination? Will people like me enjoy the same privileges which the rest of the society enjoys? Sooner or later, the day will come. Probably the poet is positive, sooner or later, in the future, maybe down the centuries, at least we'll have a society sans discrimination, because when nature doesn't discriminate between this different sects of society, between different castes of society, who are we then, the meanest of meanest individuals of the society, to discriminate people? Alright guys, so if I was a tree, wish if I was a tree as well, because we will have a blissful life is what the poet is trying to convey. Hope you understood my explanation, my dear students. Any doubts, you're free to ask me down in comments. Now we shall discuss about the most probable questions which occurs in your exams. Alright, let's start. The first one, go to page number 57 in your comprehension. The speaker wants to be a tree because choices are given there. Trees are not treated as objects of defilement. No other creature in nature has the concept of defilement. Trees are more humane than humans. Humane is having the good qualities, humanly qualities, or humane is being good, or treating people in a very decent manner. So which is the answer? Option B. B option is, no other creature in nature has a concept of defilement. Second one, what wouldn't the bird ask the tree? The bird wouldn't ask the caste of the tree before building its nest in the tree. When does the sacred cow scrape her body onto the bark? Whenever it gets that itchy feeling, whenever its body itches, it goes and scrapes its body onto the tree. Next, how does the speaker want to be purified? Two things here. The speaker wants to be purified by burning himself by putting himself into the holy fire as logs of wood. Second thing, he wants to become the buyer for a holy man, or a sinless man for that matter, carried by 4 good men. Next, what uses of the wood does the speaker see? As I said earlier, the uses of wood. First use is being used to put into the holy fire. Second is to make a buyer for the sinless man. Alright, so dear students, this is If I Was a Tree for you. Don't forget to like the video, comment below if you have any doubts, subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you'll get notified whenever a new video is uploaded. And do not forget to check the description for further info on this poem. Alright, my dear students, take care, have a wonderful day ahead, stay safe, be safe, enjoy. Alright, tata, love you all, bye bye.